Hello. Welcome to the Tiger Suite. My name is Anna. Thanks for coming in. My setup looks a little bit different today. If you can't tell, I'm actually kind of on a time crunch. I leave to LA tomorrow, and I just wanted to make sure that we still got to check in with each other, regardless of where I am. So that's why it's not my usual setup. That's why it's just me. Um, but still wanted to check in. I just wanted to thank everyone for all of the kindness. Um, Truly, like all of the kindness. I have received some heartfelt messages that literally brought tears to my eyes. Like the fact that I can reach people um not even physically, right? Not physically, but like virtually through words, but we're connecting through stories. We're relating to each other in some ways. And I think that's so beautiful. I just want you to know I don't take for granted everyone that's reaching out to me. Like the fact that you're even taking the time out of your day to write something, to write a comment, to share, to watch, to listen. Like, you don't understand how much it means to me. It makes all of this worth it. I have learned so much in this process. I have literally crashed out once or twice a week because I'm still in the thick of learning how to edit, and not even edit, but like the setup of things. I'm like having to figure out audio issues, mic issues, the setup when I have guests here, like what works, what doesn't. Like, I'm still learning. So I so appreciate everyone's kindness and patience and even tips as I, navigate this new process. I've heard this a million times, and I'm sure you have too, but it's only hard because it's new. So I'm trying to power through that. When I was little, my parents would get me instruments, piano, I had a guitar, I had an electric drum set. And I so loved my instruments, but we couldn't afford music classes. So I literally had to teach myself how to do this my own, by myself with YouTube at the time. But I never fully learned how to, play the guitar, play the piano, play the drums, because the only motivating factor that I had was myself. Um, and so I would give up because it was new and it was difficult and I didn't know how to read music. So I would give up. And, that's the thing for so many different things in my life. It's definitely like an ADHD thing. Don't get me wrong. The fixations go crazy, but I'm figuring it out. And I'm going to force myself because I really want this to work and I really want to learn. So yeah, I'm in the thick of it. And, touching base on me going out on a trip, I literally had like a mental breakdown like maybe an hour ago. I don't know if everyone goes through this, but whenever I pack for a trip, I feel like this has been more on theme for me as an adult because I don't remember being this stressed out about packing when I was in high school or when I was even in college. It's like more an adult thing. I don't know why, but every time I pack for a trip, I get really stressed out. I feel like, my clothes doesn't fit me right. The outfits in my head that I had don't look right, or I can't find an outfit that I was thinking of. Like, I'm going to LA. I'm going to Coachella next. Well, actually, I'm on my way to Coachella as you're watching this, literally, probably in a car on my way to Palm Springs. But I'm going to be able to spend an entire week with my siblings. My little brother Eric, my sister Fanny, my brother-in-law Josh. I'm literally gonna have the time to spend with them an entire week. It's gonna be a sibling trip plus Josh, which has not happened since I literally was in high school. I think, like, I don't even think in college I spent, well, maybe with my sister, but not with my brother. So this is gonna be like a whole new experience for us. But I'm so excited. We're all grown. It's so weird. But I'm going to LA and I can't find my bikinis. Okay, sometimes I rotate my clothes like when it's going towards the end of the summer to fall into winter, because I'm like, I'm not gonna need this forever, because it takes so long to warm up here. But I can't find my bikini, so I started stressing out. I started freaking, throwing clothes around, and thankfully, I'm at the end of the packing. It's over. And actually, this is the first time I pack really early because I'm usually like into midnight, 1 a.m., literally night before my trip. So I'm actually really proud of myself. But I just feel so ugly packing sometimes. I feel uh chunky. I feel like my clothes sometimes don't fit right. I feel bloated. And it honestly, it takes, like I'll be excited. I'll be so excited, like, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to my trip, oh my God, I still have to pack. And then I get to packing and it almost takes the joy, the excitement out of like the beginning of the trip for me, which kind of sucks. If you've heard in the last couple of last videos anyway, especially the one with Jen last week, I spoke a lot about not being able to be fully aware in past situations. And about how I might be expressing myself, how I might be um digesting a situation emotionally. But now I am fully aware a lot more. I'm not going to be like I'm 100% self-aware, baby, because I'm human. But I am at the point where I feel like I am pretty emotionally mature. So, when I'm having a reaction, like I'm angry or I'm emotional or I'm a little depressy, you know what I mean? I I am at the point in my life where I can really like look at the bigger picture. I try not to take things so seriously. Honestly, that's what it is. Like it's never that serious. It is never that serious, okay? Like, I'm about to go on a trip. Like I said, I'm going to spend time with my siblings. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to the West Coast. Like, I'm going to warmth. I'm so grateful. And yes, like, packing sucked, but like, I'm going to reset my energy. I'm not going to let that be the ruler of the beginning of my trip or the ruler of my trip overall when I have to change or look at what I'm going to wear, things like that. So I'm self aware in that sense where I can really like digest the situation like fully, honestly. And again, I'm not perfect. I'm not like, I've just been to therapy. My frontal lobe is just developed where I've worked really, really hard for the past couple of years, since maybe I was like 21 or 20, to be emotionally mature. Emotionally mature. Like emotional maturity is just something I'm so proud of, and it's a never ending battle. Like when to, just say, oh fucking, like think about, I know that I'm emotionally aware when I'm okay with being the bad guy in people's stories, or when I literally am like, it's just not that serious. Like, why am I mad right now? I was at the movies yesterday. Me and Peyton went to watch the premiere of Super Mario Bros. Whatever it's called. Don't come for me. And I had told Peyton, I was like, hey, there's gonna be a lot of kids. It's a children's movie. It's a premiere, 7:30. Kids are gonna be here. So like, I was mentally preparing him. I was mentally preparing myself for the kind of movie going experience we were gonna have. And so, lo and behold, there was like a little kid next to me sitting, blowing his nose. There's a baby behind me crying. There was not a single time during that movie going experience that I was upset or annoyed. Like, yeah, like these are babies. Like, this is a little kids movie. Like, it's just not that serious. So, that's where I am right now. I had my little crash out because I do crash out. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not like this super like, oh, hippie dippy. No, 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 baby. I have at least one crash out a day. But the thing is, I crash out and then I bounce back, okay? And so I'm learning to, one, try not to crash out so much, to not lose my shit so much. Not that I like, like I don't go crazy, but like I shut down. And I'm working on it. I'm working on it. It's something that I'm aware of, and I'm working on it. Anyway, thank you for coming back. That was a little spiel, a little intro as to what's going on. I'm really excited for you to see next week's episode. It's going to be a little Coachella edition for you. So I'm really excited, and that's why this is kind of like a little bit of an experiment for me, my setup today, because it's going to be like a little, my travel setup. So yeah, but today, and I touched a little bit about my instruments and, not being able to fully play them. And, I still have them. I have my piano at my mom's house. I think the only thing I don't have are my drums. I think I sold those. They were like an electric drum set. And I have my childhood guitar in my house still, I'm never ever going to get rid of. But I just wanted to touch a base a little bit, and kind of let you into the background and talk about some stuff that I feel like I need to talk about. So in the first episode, if you remember, I touched a little bit about the fact that I sang when I was little and how I no longer sing, and I haven't sang in a really long time. And what triggered this conversation for me, the whole like, okay, you know what, this is something I need to digest on the potty with my girls, is the Hannah Montana premiere. Like, what was it, like a week ago now? Maybe 2 weeks ago? Well, from my recording right now. And I got so emotional, and I didn't realize how triggered I was going to be watching this from beginning to end. Like, just thinking about it now makes me a little bit emotional still, because I truly was like triggered by this, not in a negative way, but it was like something I had just talked about it on the pod a couple of weeks prior. It's just been something that's been on my mind. I even said in the first episode, like I started singing because of Hannah Montana. So it was just kind of weird, like the fact that it was kind of like full circle so quickly, in terms of like, talking about it. I was just a little triggered, like I said, not in a negative way, but it did bring a lot of feelings up because, they're talking about the premiere of the first episode and like how it ended. And then if you watched it, at the end of the whole thing, she like wrote a song to her younger self. And those words had me crying, crying. I am someone that went through a tumultuous childhood. Let's leave it at that for now, okay? There was a lot going on in my household, and in about 2006, I think is, oh my lord, when this premiered, 2006, 20 years ago, my family had just bought a house in Buckeye, Arizona. And don't know how they bought this for obvious reasons, okay? But they did. They bought a house. My parents pulled it off. They bought a house, and we moved to super far middle of nowhere Arizona, basically. It's like a 45-minute drive out of Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know about now. But we were so excited. We finally had a home, especially because we had been coming from apartment after apartment kind of thing since we moved to the US. Every year we were moving, like I had said. But we had finally moved into a house, and I want to say we were at this house for maybe 2 years, maybe three. Yeah, maybe 2 to 3 years. And I remember when we first moved in, we had never had cable. I had never watched any like Disney Channel shows prior to this. I think my sister and I were really big Nickelodeon kids, like for TV anyway. Like we loved SpongeBob, but like we watched like Disney movies on, VHS and stuff. We didn't have cable. And so my dad is a computer guy. He's an engineer. Finessed somehow cable from the neighbor. I don't know what he did, okay? That we got cable for free. And so all of a sudden I had Disney Channel, MTV, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, like, all of that kind of stuff. And coincidentally, Hannah Montana, I think, was premiering. I remember this because I think it premiered after High School Musical did. And I very vividly remember High School Musical premiering because I watched the premiere. And so, anyway, I watched Hannah Montana, and I remember it very vividly. After the first couple of episodes, I was like, I want to be her. Little kids. I remember watching Bratz, like Bratz Rock Angels as well. Like I just loved music. I'm somebody that grew up listening to all kinds of music. My dad was a music guy. We would drive around sometimes. I would go to work with him and he would just show me music. Like even in Mexico, I remember him taking me to his work or errands, and it's not the music you would think, like rancheras and, corridos. There was a little mix of that, but it was a lot of American music. And it was like 80s rock, dad rock music, early 2000s. But he also would let me kind of explore, especially when Pandora came around. I'm getting ahead of myself. But so I grew up a lot surrounded by music. I loved music. It was like something that helped me express myself. I remember like having CDs like Belinda CD, Rebelde CDs, or just like mixes that my dad would burn for us. And I would dance around in my room and pretend I was singing them in the mirror and put on a show for myself. And I just loved music so much. I connected to music so emotionally. And so watching this Hannah Montana episode after, a couple years of doing this, of like pretending I'm Belinda or pretending I'm Mia Colucci, singing in my room by myself, dancing in the mirror, lip singing, pretending I'm putting on a concert, kind of thing. It kind of like put two and two together for me, where I was like, oh my God, I want to be Hannah Montana. Like, I want to be her, like I want to be a pop star. And, so I I don't know exactly how it started. And on top of it, High School Musical had just come out, all about singing, right? So it was just like a musical era for me. And so I just started singing. I just started singing, like, just for funsies along with it. But what really started it, that same Christmas, I want to say that same Christmas, or maybe the Christmas after that, my parents, I didn't ask for this. My parents got me one of the little kid drum sets, like the drum sets with like, I don't even remember what they're called. Please don't come for me. Like the drum that's in the middle that's big, and the little two drums here, and the little like, gosh, it's been this long that I don't remember what the instruments are actually called, but like the little, like the chime, whatever. And I remember this vividly because I remember my parents' face. Mind you, I'm a huge Hannah Montana fan at the time. Okay. I was ecstatic that I got these drums. Again, I didn't ask for them. It was just something that they came up with that they got for me. I immediately go to the drums and I start playing the Hannah Montana theme song. The toon, 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 toon. Like it was muscle memory. And I remember my sister, my mom, and my dad looking at me like, how did you do that? How did you figure that out? Like, you've had these for 10 seconds and you're already playing this, and I just started playing. And I loved that drum set. I loved it. My parents probably regretted getting me that drum set almost immediately because they're drums. And I think at that point it had to have been the second or third Christmas, because at that point my mom had just had my little brother Eric. She had just had my little brother. She was like, those drums, girl, are going in the garage, and so are you. So I got stuck in the garage. But that kind of started like this exploration of musical instruments, singing, musical loving things. Like I just fell in love with music in such a different way. And fast forward a couple of years, I want to say in like 2009, we had moved out of this house because the crash happened in 2008. So my parents lost the house. We moved back to apartments. And then after those apartments, I believe we moved to another 2-story house in Avondale. And by this point, I'm probably 9, 10 years old. And I started at a new school, as I always did, and they were having a talent show. And I had never been to a school with a talent show. I had never even thought of being in a talent show. But I was in choir at this school, I think. And so I was like, yes, I'm signing up for this talent show, not knowing what I was signing up for. Okay. Not even thinking, like, girl, this means you have to perform in front of your school. Hello. Um, you want to know what song I sang at my first talent show? We're All in This Together from High School Musical. Okay, I sang this in front of my whole school and then again at night for parents and people that came. And you might be thinking to yourself, Anna, didn't you literally just tell us you had horrible anxiety? Yes, I definitely did. I had horrible anxiety, and I'm telling you, I regretted my decision immediately when I found out what it meant. Okay, I have a video, like a home video of me performing. This is probably the point where my parents went. And I was twisting the microphone I was holding, like constantly twisting it. I could not stand still. I was so nervous. I was shitting bricks, okay? And I was so I was just so anxiety ridden. I remember my voice shaking, but I did it. I performed. And I love my family. They went to go see me. I love them. They were so supportive of me, my parents, my sister. But like any other Mexican family, we make fun of each other, okay? And it's not ill intended. Like, it's not with like ill intentions. It's not to like cause you, to like hate yourself, or, it's not like bullying. It's just kind of how Mexicans are. We're goofy and we make fun of each other. And sometimes it does cross the line, but that was not this point. And so my parents, they're like, oh, you did so good. But girl, what happened with that microphone? And so we went home and immediately watched it because I was like, what do you mean? And they were all laughing. Everyone was laughing because they were like, girl, what are you doing? And I think my issue with confidence and anxiety when I was little, and not really an issue, it's just more like a realization. My sister was so confident. My sister's a Leo. She was always so confident in herself. I don't think as a little girl anyway, I ever saw like my sister be insecure. Like, she knew who she was from a really young age. Like Maddie in Euphoria, that, or Cassie, like that was my sister. Like, she was not an insecure person. She was like the popular girl in school. She was number one in her class, super intelligent, and I was just very opposite to her. And so confidence just did not come very easy to me. And so it kind of did hurt a little bit because I was like, I wish I was confident too. And I don't know how to be. Ooh, I didn't know how to be confident. Nobody taught me. Not that it's necessarily taught. Like I said, I think my sister just knew who she was. And I just so did not. And I think I was just trying to figure out what confidence meant. I never really felt pretty as a little girl. So, I was full of anxiety. And so I don't remember like being upset at them, like making fun, like, look at you, like twisting the microphone over and over again. I don't remember being upset. But it did create a core memory for me because I feel like I had put myself out there in such a big way for the first time ever. I'm like performing by myself in front of so many people. And I think it was just maybe not what I needed to hear. But like my parents did what they could, right? Like, this is, how were they supposed to know? These were the tools they were given. This is the version of them that I got. Like, like, okay, girl, kind of thing. But anyway, so I performed, at this talent show. And then after that, I don't remember doing another one. I'm trying to remember what school. Okay, so after we live in this house, I do remember this very vividly. This specific house that we lived in, we probably were there for maybe a year or two. And then my parents, my dad's, I think, nephew had a house in Tolleson. an empty house. I think they had just moved out. I'm not too sure, but they were going to rent it to us. So they rented it out to us. So we moved to Tolleson. And I think my mom was trying to figure out like the enrollment situation because again, I lived in Avondale. Tolleson was not that far, but it kind of was. She had a little baby. My sister, I think at that point was in high school or about to be. So she was like, yeah, girl, sucks to suck. You're getting moved again. And coincidentally, as we are searching for a new school for me, because there was a couple in the area, she finds an arts academy school. And I remember being so excited because I think we went to the school and they kind of told us everything that they offered. They offered music classes, they offered dance classes, ballerina, ballet classes, art classes. They had musicals, they had talent shows. Literally my dream school. Think of like Victorious in a way, kind of in a way, but not really. And I was so excited. I feel like the stars had aligned because about a year before that, I was constantly telling my parents, I want to be famous. I want to be famous. I want to be a singer. I want to be an actress. I want to be famous. Do I want to do that now? No, girl. I know too much about the industry and I know you do too. You've seen those documentaries. Thank God that didn't happen for me. But I was constantly telling my parents, I want to be famous. This is what I want to do. And so when I got enrolled into that school, I was so ecstatic. My first talent show there, girl, my sister needed. Why did my sister stop me? Because my sister was like, we were first gen, so she knew what was cool, what wasn't. My parents didn't. Girl, I know you're watching this. Why did you let me sing the song? My first song at this talent show in the school, I think, was Under the Sea. Under the fucking Sea from Little Mermaid, okay? And I performed this in front of the whole school. And the way they did talent shows, they invited parents. It was kind of like an assembly, kind of, but also parents would come. And I during the time anyway, I think they ended up changing that. But I performed this, and I was so nervous because this school was way bigger than any of the other schools that I had ever gone to. And I was so nervous. I remember the auditioning process was like a full-on movie, like how in movies you audition, like Pitch Perfect. It was literally just like that, and I made it. So I was lit. But girl, I sang this in front of the whole school. I was in 5th grade, okay? I sang this in front of the whole school and I was so nervous. I was so nervous that I forgot the words. Girl, to Under the Sea? Girl. I forgot the words, I think, towards the end. So I think I just started kind of like, and I was standing. Oh, Jesus. This is like really like traumatic to remember. But I remember I was like standing and like tapping my leg, like looking to the side, like, please, God, let this be over, kind of thing. So we wrapped it up, whatever. It was fine. Next day, I come to school, okay? And at the time, 5th grade through 5th and 6th grade, like, and it's always kind of been like this, like the classes, like even in high school, the class before us or above us, they were always kind of intertwined. And so when I was in 5th grade, some girls were friends with the 6th graders, and some boys were dating the girls and some girls were dating the guys, whatever. So we all kind of knew of each other. This girl comes up to me. I had never spoken to her before, but she was a grade above me. And she comes up to me during recess and she says, hey, me and my friend saw you yesterday during the talent show. She's not here today, but she wanted me to tell you. What did she say? Gosh, she used a very specific word. But basically she was like, she wanted me to tell you that like I it just seems like you think you're the shit or something like that. I swear to God. Mind you, I'm a little girl. Like, why are you what? I think she basically was just like, yeah, you were acting just like you were all that or something like that. I swear. And so I just kind of looked at her like, okay, like what did you want me to be like? Oh, I'm so sorry. Like, but it was just so out of left field that I was like, girl, I was singing Under the Sea. be so dead ass right now, you know? And so I remember just being like, okay, uh, thanks, you know? Like, I didn't really know how to take it. And she was just like, yeah, we just wanted to let you know, like, simmer down a little bit, you know? I haven't like thought or talked about this like ever, I don't think. So after that, I was just like, whatever, girl. And so after that talent show, I did like maybe 3 more talent shows. I think I was in 2 musicals. But in between that time, so the second talent show that I did, I sang, oh, I don't even remember. It went something along the lines of like, I'll give you everything I own. It's an 80s song that was covered by Vanessa Hudgens in like a movie that I saw. Who is my sister? Okay. Who allowed whatever. I sang them down, okay? And between this time though, my sister and I save up enough to get a guitar that we like kind of split together. I ended up with the guitar, but it's still here, sis. I promise. I also got a keyboard during that time, and I got the electric set of drums. And in between that time, there was a very specific summer. I want to say it was 7th grade summer. It was. And I had just heard Adele for the first time in my life. And I didn't really like know, I'm a little kid figuring all of this out by myself, okay? I didn't really know like my range, what I could sing, what I couldn't sing, but I remember very specifically I was listening to the radio with my mom during the summer and I heard Rolling in the Deep for the first time. And I fell in love with Rolling in the Deep. I fell in love. You know, remember when we used to listen to the radio and you like just heard a song and you were like, "Oh, this hits." You know, like that's kind of how you discover someone or you discover their music. And I hadn't heard Adele's first album. I had no idea who she was, okay? I was listening to fucking Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, Rihanna. Like I wasn't out there exploring. And I heard it for the first time. And so I went home and I Googled her immediately, and it turns out it's this white lady. I didn't realize she was white. She did not sing like it. And I listened to it and I listened to it over and over and over and over again. And one day, I think at this point is when I discovered like karaoke channels on YouTube. And I sang it and I realized I can sing this. I can sing her music, I was 11 years old. I had the voice for it, which took me like it completely like changed the game for me, because I was like, if I can sing this song, what else can I sing? So that song, I like perfected it. I sang it till my mom told me to shut up, basically. And I sang it for the following year's talent show. So this did have to be like the 6th grade or 7th grade. I don't even know. It had to be 7th grade. I sang it for the talent show. I remember it was like my first actual. This was after I'll Give You Everything I Own. Okay, so this was like a big pivot. And I very specifically remember my music teacher putting me to like the last place in the talent show because she was just like, "You're so good." Like I had a lot of people at the school like being very supportive of me, like the staff, like the music teachers and things like that. Like they saw something in me, so they kind of like would, encourage me a lot. So I sang this song, and it was the first time where I had like an entire audience like clap. And I remember people coming up to me, like parents coming up to me. I'm like this little girl, like afterwards, and like, "You were so good." It was like a thing. And so afterwards, my mom signed me up for, mind you, at this time I'm like, I'm gonna be an actress, I'm gonna be a singer, like that is where my life is gonna go, like that is what I'm going to dedicate myself to do. And I remember my mom signed me up for this show. I don't know how Mexican you are, okay, but in Mexico there is a show in Mexico which is basically the equivalent to like the X Factor or American Idol. And it's called, I think, La Academia. If you know, you know. Okay. My parents watch this show religiously. So it was a big deal in my house, right? And we found out, I think at the time they had changed like their age limit. I was 11, okay? And on top of that, you needed papers because this was a Mexico based show, okay? But my mom was like, hey, La Academia is in town. They are holding auditions. My dad had a friend who was in media, so he had a lot of connections, and they were like, do you want to audition? So I was like, yes. So I think the auditions were at freaking Desert Sky Mall, okay, in the West Side. I was so excited. My parents took me, and turns out the paper thing wasn't even an issue. It was my age. I was way too young. I think the age limit was like 13 and up, which again makes sense. But they let me audition anyway, just for the experience. And so like I even got a bib, like full on, like with the number and everything, like full on experience. And I like went into a room by myself with like 5 judges. I sang them Rolling in the Deep. They gave me their critiques. It was all great, but like that was it. Like I wasn't moving on. I wasn't going on the show. So it was a little disappointing for me, but again, like I was just happy to say like I got to do that, you know? So time passes, and I did not want to give up. Like I couldn't necessarily try out for like the X Factor or like America's Got Talent because you needed papers, girl. You needed papers. I was undocumented, very much undocumented, and I could not do it. So time goes on. I'm still doing talent shows at my school, musicals. I think at this point I'm even like recording me myself like singing and putting it on YouTube. They don't exist anymore. Don't try looking for them, okay? But I was also like trying to explore content creating and like YouTubing, and like I used to make like videos with my friends and with my sister and like upload them. I'm sure so many people did that, to be honest with you. But at the time, I was like recording myself. I figured out how to record myself, like doing covers and uploading them. Like, I absolutely loved it. I was always like trying to explore different artists like Lady Gaga. I think I was singing some Whitney Houston songs at the time. Just things that honestly, singing for me during that time was like a challenge. Like, can I sing this song? Can I bring myself to sing this song, kind of thing? And at the same time, I'm trying to learn some instruments. But I remember the downfall was very painful. And I remember very specifically why I was like, yeah, wrap this up. Like, I'm done with this. We had a very difficult summer. And again, we will get into all of the childhood trauma on a very different episode one day. But a lot of the times, because my household was so tumultuous, you never really knew what you were going to get that day with my parents. I would use music a lot as an escape. So I spent a lot of my time alone during middle school in my room with my door locked, or not locked, but closed, singing. That was just kind of how I coped. That's how I was coping at home. I was singing. It was like the way that I was like working through things. I would find like songs I could relate to, or like if I could just when I would sing and there was a song that involved like belting or a really big note, like I literally felt like stress coming off of my body. Like it literally felt like therapy. And so I used it a lot to just cope. And there was one specific summer, I think this was like the same exact summer where I was starting to sing like Adele songs and discovered Rolling in the Deep. My dad's office, because again, he was a computer engineer at the time, and he would have like offices, here and there, like just like a storefront or just an office where he'd like rent out with different people or whatever. And this specific office, I think it was like right like near GCU and Grand Canyon University. I remember that because it was a little hoodish. The office right next door was a music studio and a music teacher. And I remember being so excited that my dad was like, hey, there's a guy next door. He records, he teaches, everyone to play, anyone and everyone to play guitar, piano kind of thing. And he told my mom, and my mom was like, well, let's go see like how much he charges, what the process is like. And I was so excited because I was in this I was in this very difficult point. And now as an adult that, I know I have ADHD and I've had it forever, I can see why it was so hard for me to like overcome myself like as an obstacle, because again, the one having the willpower was me. It's not like my parents were like, you have to study piano today, like it was up to me, if I wanted to learn or not, and I had to teach myself. So I was really excited because I was like, I'm finally going to have a teacher. I would always tell my mom, like, I can't read sheet music. I don't know what this means. It's like a whole other language. This is like one of the biggest barriers to learning piano. Out of all the instruments I played, the one that I always came back to the most was my keyboard, my piano. I wanted to learn so badly, especially singing Adele songs. Like, are you kidding me? Someone like you? Girl. So I was really excited about this music teacher. And so we get the information, and I was like, Mom, please, like, this is it. Like, this is my key. This is the key to these obstacles that I'm having. This is the key to me being able to play instruments, to sing properly, to be a singer. Like, please. My parents couldn't afford it. Of course. I mean, music classes are really expensive. And for like a lower middle, yeah, I guess we were kind of lower middle class with like a teenager in high school and me, and then a little baby. Like, yeah, girl, we can't afford this, babe. Of course, right? Like, as an adult, you're like, yeah, sorry, like, we can't afford that. But as a child, I remember that one really hurt because it always felt like I was so close. It always felt like I was about to, finally open this door to my dreams, my aspirations, everything that I've been working so hard for the last couple of years, learning, singing, At school we had music classes, but it was never something super in depth, and it was like general, not one-on-one. So it was pretty heartbreaking. And again, like, that was one of the most difficult summers I think I had in my childhood as well. So much was going on in my house that I was just like, okay, and so it always felt like it wasn't ever real, if that makes sense. Super side note, but my dad, when we first got to the States, when he could take any work that he would build websites, he would work with magazines in the area, like the magazines that you see like at Food City and stuff, with like a bunch of advertisements and stuff. He would work with for them to do their websites, and so he knew a lot of people. And I remember there was like another instance where he was like, oh, I have a friend with a music studio, I think we'd be able to record. Got my hopes up, never happened. So it was just like thing after thing where I was just like, really? Well, my mom, we just watched a bunch of like Mexican versions of like America's Got Talent, American Idol, X Factor things that I was talking about. There was another show. I can't remember what it was called, but it was more so like America's Got Talent. Tienes talento, mucho talento. If you know, you know. Okay, that was like a show you watched when like you didn't have cable, but you had like the generic like antenna cables, like Visión, Telemundo, things like that. So it was like a show that came on, but it was so good. And coincidentally, they were holding auditions in the area. And I remember being so excited about this because I remember this one feeling really attainable. This one was real. I was old enough. It was a Mexican show. I think they were more so local. I think they might have filmed in LA at the time. I could be completely wrong. But this one felt like attainable. I remember feeling like I can do this one. Like, I got this in the bag kind of thing. And I remember this day very specifically. Again, during this time in my life, a lot is going on at my house with my parents. My sister was a teenager, so my mom and her clashed a lot. I remember this day very specifically. My mom left, I think, my little brother. I don't remember my brother being there. He was a baby. I think she might have left him at home with my dad. I don't remember him being present. And my mom drove me to these auditions. They were like holding them like at a local like events, like a salon kind of thing. And my sister went with us. And I remember it was just one of those days where my sister and my mom were just bickering. They were just bickering. It was a day where I don't even know what they were fighting about. I bet you if I asked my sister, she too would be like, yeah, I have no clue. Or my mom. But they were going back and forth. My mom was getting loud with her. My sister, one thing about her, she matches energy, so she was matching her energy. And like I hadn't even auditioned yet. So like this is kind of the energy that's already being set. Like nobody clearly wants to be here, even though this is like it was like huge deal to me. I'm a little girl. I was still 11. Like I'm telling you, like. And so it was finally time to get in line to audition. And again, this one just felt so attainable. But again, I was 11 and I thought, I fit the criteria. And I think there was like a lady with a clipboard going around getting everyone's information, asking for ages, and then she finally comes to me. This is the thick of the summer, so this had to be like July. I had to be 12 to audition. And I remember my mom like trying to like sweet talk this lady, like being like, it's July, she turns 12 in October. Is there any way you can make an exception? And so they're going back and forth, and the lady's basically like, no, I'm sorry. And ooh, again, I haven't spoken about these things since they happened. I don't even think I've ever like actually, I don't even think I haven't. No, no, no. Let's stop right there. I haven't even spoken about this topic in therapy. So you're going to have to give me a second. I literally have not even thought about this memory since it happened. I remember looking at my mom. I was already kind of irritated with her and my sister because they were like bickering, and I was like, can y'all get it together, please? Like, this is like, I'm already so nervous. I'm shitting bricks. Like, can we just like get through this kind of thing? And I remember looking at my mom. I didn't realize this was going to be so hard. I'm sorry. I remember looking at my mom and telling her, I've had enough. Oh my gosh. I've had enough. Like, I'm done. And my mom was so supportive. She found this art school for me. She just wanted me to achieve my dreams. Ooh, she so wanted this to happen for me. She was always looking for opportunities for me to sing. She was always asking my dad if he knew anyone that he can think of that was related to music. She was always asking him to look for auditions for me. She still wanted to give me what I wanted because she knew I was serious. But in this moment, I literally looked at her because she was like, no, 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 like, you don't want to still audition? Like, at least audition, like, at least get that experience. Like, maybe you'll still be on TV, maybe they'll still air you. And I was just so mad. I was like, no, I'm done. I don't want to audition. I'm done. Let's go. You guys don't even want to be here. Like so much has happened. It's not meant to be. I think when I went back to school, because again, this is July, I think this is the summer before 7th grade. I remember even going back to school. I think I did the talent show, and I think I did the musical that year. I don't even remember what it was. And then the following year, I didn't. I remember going to school, and when the way that the art school worked, and I think a lot of middle schools work this way, when you go like meet your teachers, like you got to pick your electives for the year, and it was cool because the electives were like theater, music class, art class, guitar class, piano class, things like that. um I remember as I'm signing up for my classes that year, I find the theater teacher, or she sees me, and she's like, hey, we're gonna have this musical this year, like, if you want to sign up. And I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do musicals this year. And she, I think, was kind of pissed, to be completely honest. I remember her being a little upset, kind of being like, huh. I did do the talent show, and I sang a Christina Aguilera song, but I didn't sign up for any electives. I remember just signing up for like whatever was left. And then when the second semester of eighth grade came around, we had moved to a new house in Levine, which is a little more south. It wasn't that far away from the school. I could have stayed at the school. But I told my mom, mind you, this is the longest school I had been at, from fifth to first semester, eighth grade. I told her I want to move. I want to move. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not a singer anymore. I'm not acting anymore. Like, I want to move. And she was like, okay. And I remember when I moved and I started at a new school, I made an intentional choice for myself that I was going to be different at the school. I wasn't going to be outgoing. I wasn't going to be like loud like I was, because I think in the prior years, because I had been at that school for so long, like I think I did start getting a little bit comfortable. Anxiety has always been a part of my life, social anxiety specifically. But I grew up with these kids. And so by then, like, we all kind of knew each other. We all, it wasn't like a stranger, or, a new class with new people that I didn't know anymore. We all knew each other. And I remember making an intentional choice to keep to myself, to be like very shy intentionally. And then I got to high school, and again, like, there was choir, and I was in theater in high school, but I wasn't like singing. I didn't sing at all. No one knew I could sing, except like maybe my best friend at the time. But that was it. Like, I wasn't singing. I made it a point for myself. And so my mom started being like, what are you doing? Why aren't you singing? She and my dad like got officially married. I do in quotes because they've been together basically my whole life, but they got officially married, I think, my sophomore year of high school. And a year prior to that, sophomore year or junior year, one of the other, a year prior to that, during my freshman year, my sister got married, and she somehow convinced me to sing at her wedding. I always sing at these girls' events. Like, this girls' events, I swear to God, I sang at her quinceañera, I sang The Climb, and I sang Hold Down, Throw Down. Yes, ma'am. And I did the dance while singing it. Yep. So I think she was just like, well, you sang there, you got to sing at my wedding. And so I sang Young and Beautiful by Lana Del Rey. And that was the last time I sang for, in public for anyone. And then my parents got, married officially. And my mom was like, will you sing at the wedding? Because obviously I had just sang for my sister. So she was probably like, girl, you got to sing for me too. I was like, no, I'm not singing. It's not happening. And my mom still brings that up to this day. She has not forgiven me for that, which I understand. I do. But I put my foot down. I was like, no, I'm not singing. It's not happening. I'm done singing. Don't don't think I'm playing, because it's just not gonna happen. And she was really upset. She was really hurt. I remember even on the day of her wedding, she was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, girl, I'm positive. I'm not singing at your wedding. I'm not singing for anyone. I'm done. And I was still singing, don't get me wrong. I would come home from school like during high school, and during the time is like, oh my god, what a time to be alive. Like Lana Del Rey was popping off, The Neighborhood, like I was a Tumblr girl town, baby. Like I was in it. I was in it. Like Marina and the Diamonds, Florence and the Machine, like all that kind of music was like a theme in my life. And so I would come home and I would sing and sing and sing and sing with my doors closed. But I would never like sing for anyone else, or like, that was even me singing with my door closed like while my family's home was like a big deal to me because I was still a little like self-conscious. I didn't want them to like put me on the spot and be like, "Oh my gosh, can you sing that? Can we listen?" I just didn't want to be seen anymore in that way. And it also, back to the whole confidence thing, I never really thought like I was that good of a singer, which like a lot of people would probably roll their eyes. Like my parents would, be like, "Okay, girl," like, but I was with my confidence. Like I remember would watch like different girls sing, or like, these talent shows, or America's Got Talent, and be like, I can't sing like that. Like, maybe I'm not meant to be a singer. So I was like really like hard on myself with like criticism, and I didn't really want to be seen in that way. Like I think that's why I didn't want to perform anymore for anyone or sing for anyone, because like I I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be critiqued. I didn't want them to want me to continue doing it, things like that. And so I was like, yeah, wrap this up. I'm not singing ever again. And I remember in college, I think I sang once for my roommates because they were like, we got to hear it. But other than that, like I had a couple boyfriends in college, and I think I did tell them like, oh, like I did grow up singing, but when what happens when you tell people you're a singer? They want to hear you sing. And so I would always be like, no, it's not happening. And I remember I had a boyfriend that literally put on a song and he was like, sing this. And I was like, I froze and I was like, no, like you can't get me to do it. The only person as an adult in my 20s that has gotten me to actually sing, like actually, is my husband Peyton. And that is for a couple of reasons that are tied into so many different, sorry, me and my technical difficulties. Peyton found out I was a singer because my sister, when he met her, and Josh, my brother-in-law, we were like kicking it in the backyard like the first day they meet, and my sister like mentioned something about me singing when I was little, like a competition, something. And so I was just kind of like looking at my sister like, girl, shut up, and Peyton kind of made a face, but he didn't say anything. Well, we Peyton and I went home that night, and he was like, you sing? And so I remember he dropped it. I remember I told him like yes, and I kind of told him the spiel or whatever. And there was another night where side note, Peyton and I, one of the biggest reasons as well is because Peyton and I love music. Like we have the same music love language. Like we just fit in so well with each other. Like he is so open to what I listen to. Like that man will put on Harry Styles himself, and like like we just click in the same way. Like he loves music the same way that I love music. What we would do early in our relationship is we would drink a little bit, okay? And we would just watch music videos like over and over and over again. And I remember one day he put on Someone Like You by Adele, and he was like, hit this, like sing this. Like I want to see this for myself kind of thing, because he hadn't heard me up to that point. And I don't know, it was probably the liquid courage that got into me. So I did. I sang it, and I remember him kind of being like, "What the like, why aren't you singing?" And so after that, I don't know what happened, like how he just managed to get me out of my shell, but he did. And we had watched A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, and we loved that movie, and we love the music. And I remember one day he put on the song, the main song that she sings. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It's like the duet that they do, you know? And I sang it. And he was like, "You can really sing this." And so every so often we would be in the car and he'd play it and he'd have me sing it. So he just started getting me in the groove of like singing, and me being so uncomfortable because he's right in front of me, he's listening to me, you know? And so it was super, super uncomfy. And I just kind of got into the groove of it. I still haven't fully gotten back into singing, and I don't know that I ever will. It's just like I said, like, I mean, I haven't sang for Peyton since like 4 years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, since we first started dating. And it's not because I'm like ashamed or anything like that. It's just very vulnerable for me. And it just makes me feel seen in like a way that you cannot imagine unless you are a singer or you like are you play an instrument, like something that just makes you have to be seen and critiqued in different ways. And so now sometimes I sing when I'm going through something really difficult. Like that is really the only way for me to like get out those, you know, take those feelings out of me. But yeah, you know, that's just something I clearly, you know, it brought up so much emotion that I clearly needed to talk about it. And who knows, maybe in the future there is a space where I go back to that to bring this, you know, whole story full circle. Watching this Hannah Montana premiere the other day did trigger me because, you know, I have dreams and aspirations and goals that I have achieved that are so different from like 7-year-old me, 11-year-old me, 13-year-old me. We're just so different. And I feel like it was triggering because it made me feel like, would she would she be disappointed? Not disappointed in my life. I think she'd think I'm freaking cool. But would she be disappointed that that is just not a part of our life anymore? That's what was so triggering for me, because she was so in love with singing and she so wanted to be one and she wanted to be famous, you know, and I think she would be kind of disappointed to know that I kind of have put that in the back burner, like as deep, deep, deep in the darkest closet you could think of. Um, just because it's clearly triggering. Um, so maybe in the near, not near, but like in the future sometime, maybe that'll come back. Maybe I'll do a full circle in that way, or who knows, maybe I might take like guitar lessons as an adult or piano lessons, or you know, if I have a child and they come out the way that I did, I do not want my child, you know, comes out playing the guitar or wants to be an actress or actor or they sing. I so don't want them to feel ashamed. I don't want them to feel this way. I want them to be proud of the gift that God gave them, and I want them to be secure and confident in themselves. And as I say that, you might be thinking like, "Okay, well then girl, why aren't you?" But I'm a never ending work in progress. I think most of us are. And I would like to reach a point where I can teach them, if they are, you know, musically inclined, to be proud of, it's like to be an example, you know, to be proud of the gift. But man, you really stepped into my tiger suite today, let me tell you. We really got down and dirty. I'm really excited for you to see next week's episode. I hope that this wasn't too much. And I hope that I'm not like, you know, ADHD, you're kind of telling a million stories in one sometimes, but I hope that I didn't lose you in the process. So, I will see you next week, and you'll get to see a little bit of my Coachella adventure. So that'll be a lot of fun. You'll get to meet a very special guest that I'm very excited to have you meet and have talk. So yeah, I'll be in touch. I'll see you next week. Thank you for stepping into my Tiger Suite. Talk to you soon.